It's fantasy or reality. Wednesday on SC, Marty Biron labeled the Jets as Canada's best team to win the Stanley Cup this year. Here's a statement. Winnipeg is Canada's best shot at ending the Canadian Cup drought that dates back to the 1993 Habs. Is that fantasy or reality?
I mean, I got to believe, Gino, it's fantasy. I mean, let's face it. Hey, listen, Edmonton went Game 7, 2-1 game, and they hit the post in the second period. You can't get any closer than that, and I got to believe their team is going to be hungrier this year. Listen, Winnipeg's a great team, but I think Edmonton, in the end, when push comes to shove, they're going to be the Canadian team that pushes it over the top. It's about time Connor McDavid won a Stanley Cup.
Speaking of Canadian teams, the Habs are now just 3 points back of a playoff spot. So making the postseason is now a realistic goal for Montreal. Fantasy or reality?
Gino, I got to believe that's fantasy too. Listen, I think what the Montreal Canadiens are doing is fabulous. They're beating good teams. They're beating good teams on the road. I just don't think they can sustain it long enough to make the playoffs. I would rather have them sink a little bit more so they get a top 10 pick rather than that dreaded 13th, 14th draft choice right now. And then next year, once they know that they've got a team that's capable of doing this, gets a couple more free agents, then they can go for it. But I think they're having a great run right now, but I still think it's a fantasy if you think that they're going to make the playoffs.
All right. Calendar is now flipped to 2025. Right now, the Flames are in a playoff spot. The Canucks are out. That fact is absolutely shocking. Fantasy or reality?
That's reality. That is shocking. I mean, listen, I love what Calgary's done, but I wouldn't have thought it this year, at the beginning of the year, with the players that they went and got in the offseason, with the young team that's coming up, that they would be in the position they're in right now. And I wouldn't have thought Vancouver would have been in their position that they would have been in right now. I thought not only would have been reversed, Vancouver would have been much higher up in the standings and Calgary much lower. But, I mean, it's happened, and Calgary, every game you watch them, they shut it down. Dustin Wolf is playing so much unlike he's played when he's had the bits and pieces in the last couple of years. And the rest of the team is buying into this defensive game. Huberdeau is having a year like he hasn't had since he was in Florida. I think they're doing great, and I think Vancouver's got too many problems, whether it's on the ice, off the ice, or anywhere, that this is the way the situation is.
One more for you. Neither Edmonton Oilers goalie's got a save percentage in the top 30 in the league right now. So the Oilers should be looking to the trade front to upgrade a net before this year's deadline. Fantasy or reality?
I'm going, you know what? I'm going, with fantasy on this one. And I just believe we've been saying this about the Oilers every year for the last couple of years. I think Stuart Skinner took them to the Stanley Cup finals within one period of winning the Stanley Cup. I think, again, it's going to happen, and I think they don't need a goalie. Let's not worry about it. Let's worry about making tweaks on our defense, and I think we'll be fine.
You are a believer in the Oilers. That is reality. It's been Fantasy or Reality with the coach, Bruce Boudreau.